in. Welcome to today's SQL class. So, last time we discussed some terminologies in SQL, DDL, DML, and other SQL syntaxes. And it actually went well, I believe. So today we will be we will be taking it further, understand the major GUI we are going to be using for our training, and then go dive deep into SQL constraints. So this is MySQL Workbench. So what this essentially means is that this is where you write your SQL code. But is this the only place to write your code? No. So there is also what we call phpMyAdmin. That is also another interface you could use to write SQL code, SQL query. That's what I meant when I say whenever I use the word code, so it also means query. Another place you can write your query is on your command line, your command prompt. But the best of all of them is the Workbench. It is user-friendly, it's very intuitive, it gives you everything you need, and it's interesting. So be it a personal project or a company level project, you can do it on Workbench. The Workbench alternative, or the Workbench, like we do the other day, is to MySQL what SQL Server Management Studio, which is SSMS, is to SQL Server. And then there's also another database, popular database, industry level, enterprise level database, relational database management studio, management service we have, known as Postgres. Postgres uses PG4, pgadmin 4. So please take note of that. Those are their GUI. GUI stands for Graphics User Interface. That's what it stands for. So here you can execute your code, and this is very simple. This is about the simplest of the three of them. MySQL is the simplest interface of the three of them. Now, here it's where you write your code, your query. You write your query here, select whatever you want to select. This is where you write your code, this interface. How do I come to this interface? I just need to come here. I need to come to this point. Click this icon, and then I'm good to go. When I click here, it opens a new one. Okay, so I keep clicking on it, it keeps opening new interface. So I just type something here so you know I am in different place. You see? See, it's different from the other side. And here we are. So I'm going to delete this. So this is where you type your code. Don't save. It is where you type your code. All right, so on this interface is where you type your code. Now, when you're done writing your code, so when you're done typing your code, you can, okay, so when you have a new code you want to bring in, yeah, Lola, go ahead.
My SQL is my own is not like your own. Do you want me to show you how my own looks like? Maybe there's something I'm supposed to first. Okay.
Want to open my SQL Workbench, I will just click on my window, depending on what you're using. I could just type Workbench. I always recommend you you click here instead of the side. Click the one on the center instead of the side. That's what I recommend. Please take note. So I'll click on it. It opens. Give it a little time for it to open. All right, so this is the interface you have. Immediately you come here, maybe you open your Workbench. This is the interface you have. This is an instance. That is like example. An instance means example. So it's one of your local instances. You could also create a remote instance. Say you're connecting to your company's data. You can create another instance for your company, but you don't need many workbench. You need just one workbench. You're working for 5 companies that you need to access their database. You create different instances for their database. To create an instance, you click here on this plus. When you click on this plus, it brings out a window where you will pop in the details of that database. When you pop it on, you test whether there is a connection, and then you say, okay, it will create. And this method, you can create as many as possible. If you want to also create 2 local instances, you can create it. So this host name you see here means local. 127.0.0.1 means local. Another name for it is localhost. So when you want to connect to your company's computer, they give you the host name, you type it in here. And then they will give you the port name, you type it in here. They will also give you username. Then it's up to you to give the name of that instance, whatever you want to give it. And then when you're done typing the username, then you test your connection. And you can also save your password somewhere where you go and restore it. Like save your password in your computer where you go and restore it. All right, so we're not connecting to a remote computer, we're connecting to local one. Now, this is the database. You can see how this is pointing to the database. Another thing is the diagram, the data model. We have done this before. So if you want to see all the models or you want to start creating a model, this is data model. So the one I'm seeing here is for Sakila, which is a sample database that came when I installed this. All right, so this one, so this is for data migration. If I want to go back to where I came from, you can see the home button, or click on it, it takes me back. So where am I going? Where do we want to go to all the time? Most times when we come in, we click on the database here. So we'll click on the instance, local instance to go in. So it brought me back to where I was. All right, so let's continue, guys. So here I've explained this one. This other one, let's say I have an SQL file somewhere, I can bring it in. So when I click here, this second file, when I click here, it takes me to, okay, so I have an employee database. So I can click here and, import my SQL. So from that point, what it means, what you want to do is you have an SQL file saved somewhere, you want to import it and run the code. So let me give you an example. So I want to select, do I have any one here? It's okay, so let me use Sequila. I want to select, all the table from which table the actor in Sequila. I want to select all the table from actor. So I will close it and run it. So it's going to select all the tables. Now this is it. So I can first of all save this my code. You cannot, when you notice here, notice that there is no name here, SQL file 3, that's what is named. But when I save it, when I click on save here, see the save icon here. Okay, so when I click on save, this window pops up where I will give it a name. So I will click it, I will save it, I'll take it, I will name it actor, actors. I just name it actors. Now I want it to be on, okay, let it be on downloads. I will save it there. So I have saved it there. Let's say, imagine this is a very long code and you want to save your code. You want to save your SQL code. That's how you do it. Now you can go ahead and immediately I saved it, notice that the name here has changed from query 3 to actor. So I can go ahead and close this. So if I want to bring it back, that's where I need this. That's where I need this. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. When I click here, it takes me to that folder where it takes me to my local machine. Then I will look for the folder where I have the SQL query saved. And you can see I have it here, saved here. I'll pick it. I will bring it in. I don't need to write it again. So since I have it here, I can then go ahead and run it, and then my code will come up. Before I can run this code, assuming there is no database for this actor, it will not run. It's able to run because there is a database where it's querying from. So this method, that's how we save a query, and that's also how we bring back the query, if that makes sense. Do we have any question?
I don't understand though.
All right, so where do you not understand?
All the way from bringing it from actor or whatever, secular.
What is it
I
that you
just don't
don't
understand how
understand?
everything correlates.
Explain to me what you don't understand. That's I can explain. What you're talking is actors. Is it that you don't understand your problem is the web or
How,
the
yeah, how all this database came about, how you navigated all this the buttons right from the query two or whatever, and brought out all these database is what I don't understand.
no worries? Just pay attention or delete this. I want to bring a new query, an interface where I will write code. This is where I do it. I choose a different color. This is where I will do it. This icon here. So I'll go ahead, click on it. So why is it giving me SQL file 5? Because I had already done different, I've opened up to 4. So it's taking note of all the ones I've opened before, which I had already closed. If I open again, it will give me 6. So this is where you go and you open the interface where you write your query. This place. That's how simple it is. So I'm going to go ahead and close some of them because the more you open, the heavier your system becomes. So what is Secular? Secular is just a database that came when I was installing my SQL Server. I didn't bring it in. I said, okay, as I was installing it, they asked me, do you want us to bring in Sequila? I said yes. So that's it. Sequila is just a default database that comes with MySQL MySQL server whenever you're installing it, if that makes sense. So I was trying to explain how you bring in a code, an SQL code, which we did, perhaps you may not have done it, when we were bringing in employee database. So to be able to bring in an SQL, I want to have a query that I saved somewhere, which is an SQL query, so that I will be able to bring it. And that was why I came here, expanded, so I will see the table names. And so I will know how to query. And these things you're going to learn, I am just explaining another thing. So this code is not something you should bother yourself. You will learn all of them. So I just want to select everything from after. So let me select address this time around. So I want to select all the columns from address. And this is how we close it. I will run it. This is where I'll run it. So this is all the table from address. So I have a query now that brings me the address table, that queries the address table. I want to save this so that I'll be able to bring it back. And I also mentioned that when you're saving, take note of this. It's written SQL 55, but that's not a good name. So it is when you want to save that you'll be able to give it the name you want. So I want to go ahead and save this my query now, this code. That's the name for query in SQL. So I'll come here, you can see this icon here called save. Click on it, it will pop up a window where I will a window for me to save it in my local machine, like my laptop. So I'll give it a name. Because it's an address table, I'll just give it address. And I'll save it the same place here. So imagine I go ahead and I delete this. I close that. There's no way for me to open it again, except I go back to where I save it on my local machine and bring it back, or I create a new code. So, and that's where this icon comes handy. This second one. I want to bring it back. So to bring that code back, I will come here, click on this icon. It will take me to my local machine. And then I will find address. You can see address here. Click on it. What is it going to bring? It will bring back that query that I closed, that I ran the first time and I closed. When I bring in, so it creates a new window and brought it for me. Again, because there is a database attached to it, where we queried it earlier, I can easily run it and it comes up again. Does this make sense, Paula?
Okay, it's clearer now.
Excellent. So let's move on.
Charge your solar battery, please.
Buy a new one for me, I beg. This one don't old.
We'll forget that we're recording this and I'm not editing it. Just take note before you be charging and delete and buy a new one. I'm not editing it. All right, so let's move on, guys. Don't worry, SQL is fun. We're going to enjoy every bit of it. So I'm going to explain the icons that we regularly need so that we'll move on. So the next one is, we're not using this. The next one is you want to create a new database. So if I want to create a new database, I'll come here, create new schema. In MySQL, schema is also another name for database. But in SQL Server, it means a different thing. It means a a placeholder, a folder that holds different databases, but that's not a problem. Let me not confuse anybody now. Schema is the same thing as database. So let's move on with it. I want to create a new database. I can come here and see create a new schema. It's the same thing as create a new database in this particular server. When I click on it, say I want to create a new database called books database, anything you want to name it. You could choose to put the DB if you choose not to put it. But I just want to put it so that you know it's database. Just give it a name only. That's all you need to do. Click apply. Give it a name here. Give it a name here, and then you click apply. That's all you need to do. So let's go ahead and apply. Okay. And it's telling us. So what is it doing? As soon as we click apply, it gives us the code that creates database. And that creates schema. You can also name it create database and then the name of the database. And then you go ahead and apply. And boom, finished. We're done creating the database. Where is the database? This is the database we just created. And that's how easy it is to create a database. And when you go there, when you create a database, it comes with some things. So let's go and find out what it comes with. When you click on it, it comes with 4 objects. These are called objects. They are called database objects. I've explained this before in our last class. A table, that was what one I explained. A table, another name for table is called database object. But there are other objects called view. Views are objects. Stored procedures are all objects, and functions are objects. We will go to these ones later towards the end of the class, but we will be paying more attention on tables. Now you can see there is no icon, there is no arrow here, like a drop-down arrow. Why? Because there is actually no table in this. If there is anything inside them, then you will see the arrow. You drop it and you expand. Now let me show you an example. If I go to this secular database and click on it, now you can see the tables there, all the objects there have arrow. When you click on this arrow, that's whenever you click on it, you're expanding it. So you see that even the columns, the columns have the tables have arrow, and when you click on the tables, the columns also have. We have indexes, foreign key, and trigger. And when you click on the columns, you now see the last part of the hierarchy. But in our own case, we don't have anything. So that's why you don't have, there's nothing, there's no table. That's why you don't see anything to expand. So, all right, so that is how to create database on the GUI, on the user interface. And this is what we use to create the database. So the next one is create new table. All right, so let's click here. All right, so yes, Lola, go ahead. Lola, you
Yeah,
ready?
yeah. The only clickable buttons in clickable by my own is the first two ones. Others are not showing like that. Like I can click them.
All right, so that's not a problem. It's not an error.
Okay. Okay.
You will see how to do all everything. So
Okay.
I think I will see how to show you. I'll show you how that works.
All right.
All right, so let's move on. Say I want to create a table. All right, so it has picked up this schema. Yeah, Lola, go ahead. You want to ask the question again?
No, please. That was a mistake, please.
Okay. So it has picked up this schema, but I don't want to use this schema. So I will revert. Okay, so I'll close this. No, I don't want. So if you want to select a database, please take notes. First, the default way on using the interface is to double click on MySQL, double click the database. It will change to bold. If I double click it, it will change to bold. That means that is the database selected. That's the active database I am working on. I'll also show you another way to select a database. So I want to select this database. I will double click on it. So I have selected books DB. So now I can go ahead and I want to click this. No, I don't want to save. Don't save. All right, so close this. All right, so I want to create a table because this is actively selected. When I click on create a table, it will select it as the main database. So can you see here? Can you see the schema selected? Has selected books DB. So let's go ahead and create a table. I'll just create a simple table. Okay, so this is the column name. This is the table name, books DB. So I'll just say textbooks. Let me just keep it simple. So the title, give it a title. Title is not an integer. Usually, we're going to come to this place. So it's not an integer, it's a variable character. And I don't want to use it as my primary key. And will it be null? No, it cannot be null. So I'll pick another column. This is a column. I'll pick another column, ISBN. Okay, so the ISBN can be integer, and I said the title should not be integer. Why are you picking integer for me? Good. What was that? All right. Could not set new data type. Why? The given data type varchar contains error and cannot be accepted. The previous value is kept instead. All right, so why did you keep the previous value for me? All right.
Is it because it's not null?
I have removed the not null. I shouldn't stress me. It's not it. All right. So what I will do is I'll just give it ISBN.
Or you should put the ISBN.
Yes. I don't like stressing my life. Title. Okay, so here we go. Now I hope you allow me change to virtual. So my ISBN can be primary key. So what is the problem? It looks like I'm having issue with my stuff. Looks like I'm having issue with it. So
No, you have to put at least a number if it is 1 or 2 when you change it from integer. Just change it from integer, then put a number inside the sample.
sorry. Thank you. So I'll just put like 25. Enter.
It
But
has changed to decimal again.
20. Mind. Don't mind my stuff. 25. All right, that works. Thank you. So here I can go ahead and create this table. And so as soon as I created this table, it just give me the query to create table. And what is it? Create table, the table name. So the table name, and then the database, the table name, this is the table name, and then of course the columns. We're going to get to this, and I will apply. So when I'm done applying, let's go back to this place. Let's go back here. Now you can see that I have this arrow showing me a drop down. Now when I open it, it's telling me I have a table called textbook. And then this table has columns. So it's the 2 columns. And that's how simple that icon is. And please take note, for every challenge we have, please take note of them so that you learn from them. Because in the course of doing what we're doing, we're going to be facing challenges, and we'll be solving them together. Please take note. All right, so that's it. This is for database, this is for table, and we're making progress. Okay, so we're not doing any view, we're not doing stored procedure. Okay, so we're not doing any function, so we're not touching these ones. These are the ones we are working with for now. So those are the ones we're working with. All right, so let's come down to this place. We're done with this for on this interface. So let's come here. Now, when you come to this interface, when you write your query, there are lots of things, icons here for you to use. So when I write my query, notice that when I write my query, I'm going to write another one. This time around, I want the author. Select all from actor. All right, so but I have to, how we said it. If I run this code, it's not going to work because I am not on secular database. So I will run it so that you will see. So you can see that it did not run. Let me show you that it did not run. So look at it here. Can you see this X showing that it did not work, it did not succeed? Because it did not see the database. So for you to be on the same page, you need to select that database, make it active by double-clicking on it. Then now when I run it, it's going to run successfully. So notice something. If I come here, see, if I put my cursor here, up here, and click on this, execute the statement under the keyboard cursor. If I click here, see what happens. It executed only this one, the address. If I put my cursor here, see what happened. Oh, all right, so I didn't name the table well. Actor, not actors. So if I put my cursor here, see what happens. So this icon here, this second lightning icon, execute only the table, only the query that you have clicked on, that you have your cursor on. If I have my cursor on this one, it will execute only this. If I have it on this, it will execute only this. Whereas if I want a particular one to be executed, if I want everything to be executed, or if I want everything executed, I will select this one. So you can see it executed the first one and then the second one. Where is the first one it executed? See this address here. it executed address, and then it executed actor. So I'm going to click on it so that you will see. See the difference? That's because I just get my cursor anywhere and clicked on this first icon, first lightning icon. So the both of them execute query, but the way it works is that when you don't select any query, this first lightning icon will execute everything. Whereas if you don't select any, this second lightning icon will execute where your cursor is. So if I put my cursor here, it will execute only this one. If I put my cursor here, it will execute only the second one. That's it. So what is the way for us to execute, the way forward to execute when you have multiple queries on one interface? This is how I recommend. You either highlight and select this one, or you keep your cursor on where you want to where you want to query and run the second one. So the beauty of this is, say I want to write more code where this street equals Abera. So that's because I'm seeing Abeta here. So if I run this whole, it's going to give me only, okay, so I have an issue here. All right, so I need to put it in quotes, sorry. All right, so it's giving me only a better, that's because that is a test and you're going to get to understand this one will do data type. But if I highlight only this, notice that Abeta is still here, but I'm highlighting only select all from address. It's going to overlook Abeta and select everything. So you're going to overlook this filter and select everything. So no. All right, so I need to close it here. All right, so I needed to close it and select everything. So if I have it like this, it will pull out only the one that concerns Abeta. So take note of what this two icon does. So I have been able to explain this one because we use it to save our query, to run our query, to run our query. So I'm going to explain only the ones that concerns us. So what is this other one? All right, so this opens script. So let me try and bring this script in. This script has an unsaved changes. All right, so it's asking, would you like to save the changes? No, just cancel. So it's trying to overwrite this particular script that we have here. So far we have been able to explain this. You're going to use it well. You're going to use this, you're going to use this. This execute the explain command on the statement under the cursor. I don't use this, but it's also an execution code. All right, so this one is when you're running a code and it's taking long, you can stop it. So we don't have code that takes long so far. So because anything we run now, we just come quickly. So you can stop your code. Click here and stop it. Here, toggle, we're not using this. And we're not using this for now. That's commit. rollback. Do you remember the commit and the rollback? The last class?
Yes.
Good. So we can use them to do that. So one important thing I need to explain to you is this limit. So you can see when you click on this limit, it shows you. So when you want to, let's say I want to run this code, I will remove this filter. I want just 10. I want 10, the first 10. I will just pick 10 and then run my code. So it's going to give me the first 10. What's happening? I need to close my code. Sorry. So it's going to give me the first 10. Did I run all of them? It's this one I want to run. Good. So it's going to give me only the first 10. So you can see 1 to 10. Let me delete some of this. Let me erase some of these things here. It gave me 1 to 10. Assuming I move it, assuming we have up to 50, let's run it. And here, to give me more numbers, you can see, I think we have up to 50. So it gave me up to 50. So by default, it will give us the first 1,000, I think. But you control what you want here. So why is this here? This is here to, let's say you want to do a simple preview of the table. You just say maybe the first 10, the first 50, so that you see how the table is. Because imagine you have 1 million rows, but what you just necessarily need is to preview. You don't want to run all your 1 million rows. That will affect it's going to take a lot of compute power. Compute power means the ability, you know how your RAM works. The computer's ability to generate your RAM and your processor to perform an action. So it's going to take so much compute power. So if it's only preview you need, you just come here and do it. You just do it, first 100, and then you run it. That's how simple it is. You will run your code. I'm not sure if this is up to first 100, but it looks like. Okay, so we have a lot there. All right, so that's it here. So when you're writing code, save current statement or select to the snippet. I don't necessarily use this. I just go and straight and save. So let's say I'm writing, so my code like this will work. Straight line like this will still work. There's no problem with this. But this doesn't look neat. So if I want to make it better, I come to beautifier. I'll select it, come to beautifier, click on it. It will beautify it for me. It will format it for me. And this is what it does. It will format it for me. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop on this side. All right, so let's come down here. So I can export my data. I can export. So anything you see here is for the table. All this icon you see here, these are functions, or is it commands you can do on this table. These are commands you can do on this table, and then export them as much as you want. But mostly this is what I do. I save my data. So I can save it in a CSV file. Let's see another one. You can save it in JSON, yes, or even an SQL statement. But mostly when you have a table like this, you want to save it as a CSV file. And I've explained to you what a CSV means, comma separated value, which is mostly how people save their data. Programmers export their data, programmers and data professionals alike. All right, so that's the one I am much interested in explaining to you, because that's what you will really need in case. Okay, so let's move on and explain the other interfaces. the other part of the interface. So I'll bring this down. Let me erase this. So you can see this, I don't usually use this. When I want to work, I like using this. If you go to the top right here, you will see this icons. So let's see what the job is. So the last one, if I click on the last one, see what happens. See, it expands my interface. Click on it again, it reduces it. If I want to go downwards, I'll click here and it will just close what I have under. If I click on it, it brings it up. And what do I have under? This is what I have under here is how I know whether my query runs successfully or not. And if it did not run successfully, it will also tell me what happened. So this is telling me that this runs successfully. So when I click on the third one, it closed. In case your stuff closes by the side, just know it is here. Click on it, it comes up again. So you choose what you want to control. And of course, you guess it right. This is the easiest one to use, and that's the best for you if you know what you want. But if you feel you want more space, you can also click down, click up, and then you're in charge. You're in charge of everything. But remember, you need to know where things are, your tables are, before you start doing this. All right, so this is it. So this is schema is another name for table here. And look at where it is here. And schema selected is showing you here. Merely you select this one, it's showing you the one that is selected here. If I go to my book, it's showing book. If I go to Word, showing me Word. So, and this is it on the interface. Do we have any question?
Yes, please. I have a question, but it's not related to this. I want to know what advantage saving with CSV file format has over other formats.
Oh, right. That's a very beautiful question. It's related. So CSV file is like a standard. So let's say I save a code, a table with CSV file in CSV format. It's easy for programmers and data professionals to consume. Saving in another format has some kind of complications, like in Excel. So the code I need to get this data in CSV is easier compared to getting it using Excel. And CSV is also well structured. It doesn't have the complication of Excel. It's well structured. The other format is JSON. JSON is not structured, it's semi-structured. The CSV is your best option when you want to save it. For programmers, it's easy to load the data from a CSV file into their database. For data analysts, data scientists, it is easy to load this data from CSV into any platform you want to load it. CSV has become the standard when you want to read data. So it is because of the ease of loading this data to wherever you want to use it. That's why it is a preferred one. Is it clear?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question before we continue?
Another question is
Okay.
the beautify icon on this the beautify icon you talked about. So I want
Yes.
to ask, this code writing or this query writing, it's just for me as a data analyst, right? I'm not giving anyone to look at it, or is there at any point where I will have to share my code with someone to help me look at it or something? Because I don't really understand why the need for beautification.
Oh, yes. So in a company, when you're done querying your code, wherever any interface you're using, you want to save this code somewhere where others can also access it. So let's say you're not the only data professional. You need a way to collaborate with your colleagues. So you need to save all your code that does one thing or the other somewhere. There's also what we call stored procedure. A code you always use often, you save it as a stored procedure so that you will run it anytime you want instead of rewriting it. So going into the habit of making your code look good, well structured, readable, is a standard practice. So, but for this one, this is how I would prefer doing it. I'll prefer this way. I'll prefer this way and this way. That's why I do mine. It's up to you how you want to do yours, but that's what it does for you. The standard practice is that make your code readable. Make your code readable. So that's why that is there, but it's up to you. Remember, if you just keep it one straight line, it will still work. So SQL does not, even if I have this space like this, it will still work. What SQL is looking for is this, looking for this semicolon that ends the query, that signifies end of query, and it will still work. It doesn't take, where am I? I'm in different database. So take note of this, guys. All right, so do we have any other person? Any other question?
Sorry. This address, do you have it on your database before, or you just populate them out just now?
No, I did not populate them. They are from the sample database that comes in when you install MySQL. And this is the database, Secular.
I don't think I have that on my secular.
The address, you don't have address on your Secular.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I don't know why. I don't know why it just came. We don't control it. Perhaps
Yes. It's because you don't permit it to that database to be installed when you were installing your workbench. It's just like a sample database when you were installing your.
but he said he doesn't have address. Like he has Secular, but he doesn't have address.
No, do you have Secular at all? You have Secular. You have a database called Secular.
Yeah,
Olawale?
yeah. I was inside one of, like, I was
Yeah.
working on SQL before, so I'm just back on the home page now, so I've seen it.
Yeah.
All right, so we are good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Does any other person have any question? So we can move on.
Please, one last question. If a database is deleted and we want to make use of this second option on the user on the GUI, like to call back a saved SQL file on our, what did you call that thing? Is it child machine or what?
Is it what?
What did you call where we save our SQL files?
No, your machine, your laptop. I usually use the word local machine, meaning your laptop.
Yeah, you used one machine, one word like that.
Local machine.
Okay, local machine, yeah. So if we want to call like we want to call up an SQL file that was saved, okay, and like run it again. If that database where we saved that thing from has been deleted, will it be able to run after
And
calling it up?
no, it will not run. It does it because it's not, there's no database for you to run. That's just a query. It needs to have a database it wants to query.
Okay. So
Yes.
now we need to make the database active first before we call up our saved SQL file, right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
And to make it active, you just double click on it.
Double click, yeah.
Yeah, and it's active. All right. Any other question? We're making progress. Is Fola here? Is it flowing? Francisca? Lola? Valentine?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
here.
I'm here.
Yeah, so the Valentine in data, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
You flowing? Do you understand everything? Ask your questions, please.
I'm understanding, but Kingsley, I don't have this secular when I open my own.
So it means
Is
you
it
did not allow it when you were installing, but that's not a problem.
okay?
It's not a
Oh,
problem actually. That shouldn't bother you. I'm just using it because it's handy. But when going forward, we're using employee database.
okay.
All right. So earlier we created, let me open a new query. You know how you do it. Earlier we created this database using the GUI. But if you want to create a database as a data professional, you don't use the GUI. Well, there's nothing wrong if you want to use it, but you are expected to know your code. And what is your code? Create database. Create database. What is the name of the database? I will call it school. I will call it schools. And when you write code like this, it is standard practice to close it with a semicolon. That's how to write. That's how. That's how to write SQL query. When you write it, close it, and this is how to create a database. Create database. Please pay attention. Create database and then the database name. However, before you create this database, sometimes it's possible that that database actually exists. So the standard practice is that you create this database. First of all, you check if this database exists. If this database exists, delete it. So if it exists, delete it and then create a new one. So I will type it this way, create database if, all right, let me just get it from here. If not exist. So if this database does not exist, create it. All right, that is a standard so that you will know this way. What happens is if it exists, it will then tell you that it actually exists. But if it does not exist, it will create it. All right, so if I click here, if I click run, or in this one or this one, anyone, it will create the database. And you see, well, we are done creating a database called schools, but we don't see it here. Why? That's because you need to come up here. Please take notes. You see this little icon here? You need to come here and click on it. It's called refresh. You need to come there and click on it. So when I come here and click on it, here I have a new database called school. So that's my database. This is my database. And I can also, you know how we did it, but don't try it at work. Don't try this at work. I can also drop this database. So to drop it, I would say drop database school. I will close it. And I will run here because my cursor is here. And school has disappeared. If I change it to books, close it, run it again, book will disappear. All right, so let's see if, remember what our stuff. Rollback database. Will it work? Books DB. It's not valid here. I don't think this is valid. Need to go and check the SIM code, the code. All right, so, but remember, don't try this at home, please. At work. Don't try it at home. Don't say at work. Don't say I did not tell you. Right, I'm trying to get something. Okay. So roll back, say this. Doesn't look. Yes, so Francisca, we're going to practice. Don't worry. We're going to practice. Like, it looks like I am doing too much. Do you want to start practicing now? Today is not for workshop, remember. So, but please don't use drop database. I use it for practice sake, but don't use it at work, please. Even your job is not to be dropping database, please. I'm just showing you that so that you will take note of it. For the rollback, we'll work on it later. Okay, so let's create our database again. Create database if it exists. If not exists, so create it and it's here now. So just this line of code, you're able to create your database. And Do you want to practice it?
I haven't done.
Let's open a new page. Okay, so the next one is dates. Let's talk about dates. So dates is used to represent a date. It's just used to represent a date. And you know how, depending on where we are, so we are in the UK and the format is day. So every locale have their own. Locale means the region. So in UK we have day, month, and year. This is a format. The US has it the other way. Year, month, and day. Please take note. So what that means, if you're working for a US company, you do it the other way. So I work for a US company that's ensured that we use these formats. So please learn to respect the locale. So this worked for UK. And this works for US. And because this is UK, that's also what we use in Nigeria, this first one. So this is the date format. Now, beyond this date format, there is the one we call date time. Date is just only date, no time. Date time has time in it. So it includes the you can pick any of them. The date first, I'll put include the date first. Then give a space here and then include the time. Of course, you know how it is. So this is what we call date time. Gives you the date and it gives you the time of when something happened. And that is called the date data type. Please take note. Now, when you're creating an application that you want to take date of, you want to understand, you want to know when, take note of the date and the time somebody registered. You do not use this date time. You use timestamp. Well, you shouldn't use the time, use timestamp. So timestamps helps you do arithmetic operation on your dates. It helps you do arithmetic operation on your date. So for instance, it helps you calculate things like elapsed time. So for instance, you have the dates the date you clocked in. So the date you clocked in and the date you clocked out, or the time you clocked out. Timestamp is used for this, not date time, because timestamp is calculated. It's programmed to do arithmetic operation to calculate your time elapsed time. That is the time difference. So this will definitely give you the time difference between when you left, when you came in and when you left. So calculation is far easier here than here. So in that your database you want to create, take note of this. If you have any time, take note of this timestamp instead of date time. So I'm sure you have something like created at. That created at is timestamp, not date time. Please take note of it. And of course, there are still some you want to do date time. Things like when you did transaction, sales, you want to do like date time. This one will work well. Okay, so any question on this? It's a straightforward one. Date time, timestamp. Any question on this? No question. Sometimes you want to save something and it's so big that you don't want to just save it in varchar or in char or in number, but you want to save a file. That thing is so, the information is big that you can't just start saving it as text, maybe 5,000 word text. Instead, you want to save it as a file. So you have a column called blob. Blob stands for binary large objects. Binary large object. It can be used to save, for instance, you upload your file, you upload your image. When you upload your image to a database, blob can be used to save it. You upload a file. You know when you upload they say upload your certificate, upload your CV. Blob is used for it. Another CV again, decide to put it in PDF. Blob is used for it. Does that make sense? So you save a file in a column. That's what blob is for. Does that make sense? Do we have any question? All right, so that looks like we are good. Next one is, we're done with data type, guys. We are done with data type. Now let's do constraint. But we'll be fast with this one because we have already touched here. All right, so what are constraints? So constraints are like specific rules or limits we define in our tables. Specific rules or limits we define in our tables. So you have a table. You have a table, and this table has personal ID, person's ID, and because this person ID is in this person table, you can come and say this person ID This person ID is the primary key. And then you will come here and specify it. This is the standard way to specify it. Primary key. And which one is the primary key? You mentioned the column.
Sorry, it appears you are on a different page or something.
Oh, sorry. I hope what I have will not disappear. Yes. So thank you for that. So because we have a person table that has a column called person ID, we can come here and say, because I need to put comma here, this person ID is my primary key. And because it's my primary key, it cannot be empty. So not null. This thing you put here and here, it's called constraints. So that means when you want to add data into rows into this table, this will be your primary key, and it cannot be empty. That's what it means. And this is called your constraints. Does that make sense? Are we good, guys? Do we have any challenge with this?
Small. It's okay.
Just there.
It's entering small, because these things, when you're looking at it like this, it looks easy. By the time you want to start practicing it, it will be doing boost for you.
Don't worry, you'll be fine. So when we are done, I'll just show you where to go and pick. You don't need to memorize anything. Don't ever memorize anything. I didn't remember to tell you that. Please, guys, don't memorize any code. It's not done in our industry. In our industry, knowledge has been democratized. So go online and find your code. Don't memorize any code. Don't memorize any syntax. Just know when it is right and when it is wrong, and know how to write it. Go copy the skeleton and then build your own. Don't memorize anything. So I don't memorize any code. I don't have to. If I get to an interview where they want me to memorize, I'll just give up. I'm sorry, I'm done. Immediately, I will just give up with the interview. I will sit down and wait until the time is up. I will go. All right. So I'm not saying don't push your brain, but you cannot memorize code. Trust me, it's a waste of space, your brain power. Okay, so that is a constraint. And the way we have it, we also have other constraints. Like you can also say we have unique key, which is also used to identify a table. So you can say a column, sorry, a table, unique key. This is the center. This is how you put it. Unique key. We want our unique key to be our email address. All right, so I will just put an email address here. So email address would be Pacha, and because we don't have problem, we already know what those numbers are. Oh, I did not tell you there is something. I'll explain it later. 255. Okay, so Always put a comma until the last one. You don't need to put a comma on the last one. So our email address will become our unique key. This is also a constraint. So what does this unique key means? This unique key means no two number, none of this should repeat itself. That also means your primary key can also be your unique key. So this email address should all be unique. That helps you, make every person unique in your application. That way, when someone who has registered before comes in, you'll be able to say, this person has registered before. This email exists. Choose another email. So unique key helps us handle that. We also have another one called foreign key. So foreign key let's say I have another table called, all right, so I'm not going to put persons and custom. Let's say we have another table called customer. No. So if we have another table like, since this is sales, so we have another table like maybe on the order table. So let's say we have an order table, and of course that means we have a column called order ID, and this order ID we'll call it int, and we'll call it int. Now, in that order table, because okay, so it's also a foreign key. It's a foreign key. So in that other table, what this means is we want to make this key a foreign. Okay, sorry, no need to write it here
Yeah, I was going to say that.
since we're already here. But that's why we are specifying it. This is the one that is a bit complicated. So which one do we make? Which one is a foreign key? We say the order ID is a foreign key. Order ID is a foreign key. And which table is it referencing? Because it needs to reference a parent table. This is the child table. It needs to reference a parent table. So we say it is referencing they're referencing a table called order table. If that makes sense, or orders table. It's referencing the orders table, and the column of that table it's referencing is the order ID. And this is how to put it. Immediately you do this, let me explain something. Immediately you do this, this is a code, this is a syntax, it's a working code. So immediately you do this, what happens here is it will create a referential integrity. it will enhance and it will uphold a referential integrity. So what this means is you cannot go and delete. If there is an order already existing, you can't delete. You can't come here and delete a name, delete an order here. Anything that, because it's actually existing in another table, you can't just come here and delete something here because it's existing in another table. But you can actually say, I want to also delete. But I want, when I delete, I want to be able to delete, even though it is referenced in another table. I want to be able to delete. And when I delete, I also want it to delete on the other side. So that is what we call on delete. When I delete, I want it to delete on the other side. And that is called cascade. Yeah, so this is the most complex of all of them. But like I said, you don't need to memorize code. When I delete, I want it to cascade. So when I delete something from this table, I want wherever it is on the other table, also delete it from there. Does that make sense?
But I thought delete is not for deleting items in the table. I thought we use truncate to remove the items inside the table.
So
So why
this
are we using?
no, this is constraint. These are constraints. So this constraint, you're not using this to delete, just a command that cascades. When you do something, let it happen in another place. But the true thing true command you're using to delete is actually the truncate and the other ones.
Okay.
Yes, but this is just a command that cascade, it deletes somewhere, it has to look for wherever it is and deletes it. And it's not all the application that has it. Please take note of that. So some application, some companies, when they delete your information, they want to retain, when they sack you, or when you're done with them and you leave, that email you use in registering some of the applications is no longer active. You still want to retain some of the things you built for them that is attached to your email. Those things will still be there. That way, on delete will not cascade. So this is optional. All right, but that's for software development, not for data people. But it's important that software testers know this. Another kind of constraint, I think that should be the last one for today. I have dragged you guys and I appreciate that. Is not null. I've already used it, not null. So if you don't want something to be empty, you say not null. So that way you must put something there. You must put an entry there before it will accept. And with that, I'll say thank you. We just have 10 minutes. Any question?